Hello, folks, and welcome to our discussion today, our webinar on the MyGuest system, which is the guest request and concierge system that Booking Center has recently introduced. We wanted to have a session today where we could describe what the system is, what it does for our existing customers, and why we think that this is going to be a pretty interesting addition to your property's day-to-day management, as well as your guests and their satisfaction at your property, and some additional revenue that we think that you'll be able to gain from your guests by servicing their needs in a more timely, efficient manner, as well as providing them with additional services that they may not even know that you've got to offer. So I wanted to first just show you that, I'm showing you guys our web page, which, is up on our website about this system right here. We call it the MyGuest product, and there's a lot of information on this, so I don't want to get into that. But I want to just give you a brief overview of what the system does and how we see it here at Booking Center. The system basically has two pieces. And the first one that I want to get into, it's the most exciting, I think, for a lot of customers, is what we call the concierge aspect. And the concierge is a website that serves your customers. And it can serve your customers from the time they make a booking all the way through their pre-arrival and then while they're on site at your property. Now, it's just a website that we host on behalf of our customers. You can see that the website is hotel.bookingcenter.com. And this is our demo. So this one is available, and you will all get a link to this that you can go play around with later on. But the idea here is that your guests can interact with your property over their mobile device or over their desktop, and they can do so at their convenience anytime from the time that you expose this to them, which is usually in the booking confirmation process, or while they're actually on site at your hotel. Like, for example, when they log into your Wi-Fi and some website has to come up, instead of having your public website, it could easily be your concierge system. And so the concierge system is such a thing like, they could set, for example, a wake-up call for themselves, okay? Or they could, ask for some housekeeping type of things, like a turn down, or request some items like toothpaste or whatnot, things that you do anyway. But the good thing about the concierge system is that it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. And, especially some higher value services that you offer, say like spa services, right? These can become a point of sale or a sales experience for your customers that they can access and get delivery on, probably during their arrival, sometimes during their stay, but even some of these services, like, ordering chocolates for their room, can all be purchased ahead of time. So because Booking Center is, a property management system, we care greatly about not just the marketing of a system like the concierge, which is, good looking, and by the way, it's fully responsive. So the same demo that we're going to be doing today, you guys should do on your own, mobile devices or tablet devices. It really, really, looks good in all sorts of different environments, like I'm showing you there. Just expands and contracts, and of course the graphics are completely customizable to each one of our properties. This is just our demo here. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of how a property is most likely to experience like learning about your concierge system. The thing that we get very excited about in Booking Center is that one of the places that they could learn about what your concierge is and how they can use it is starting right there from the confirmation process. So let's say, for example, that you decided to have a confirmation letter like this. This is just a demo confirmation letter. You were going to give them information about Sally Stewart's stay and, what she's booked. She's booked 2 nights, etc. But then they can prepare for their stay by actually knowing about your spa service, so that in the confirmation process, they can click a letter and actually order any of these spa services that you offer, back and neck, and they could just start adding different quantities of back and neck massage or deep tissue massage, right? And what's happening here is that it's building a total amount here that they could then book for their spa package. And of course, that would then fit into their property management system for your fulfillment. Now I just, put spa package right there, but they could also, do some, maybe pre-order some in-room dining. So, look at your breakfast menu, for example, right here. So this property has, Spanish omelets and pancakes and oatmeals and things of this nature. Some of this stuff is appropriate for pre-booking prior to their arrival, and some of this is appropriate only for their actual stay when they're on site. So one way they would learn about your concierge aspect is just through your normal confirmation process. Go ahead and build this into your confirmation letters any way you want. But there's some other ways that you might choose to let them, know about that as well. And one of those is, for example, put some posters around your property. Now I'm showing you an example here of a poster that we did for one of our demo properties down in Redondo Beach, California. And these properties were just put in their hallway. They were put in their elevators. They were just put around the entire property hotel. And anytime that property, anybody gets that property, loaded up the Wi-Fi, they were redirected to the Crown Plaza's concierge site. We also put in, I'm going to show you this, it's a little bit harder to see, but this is one of those little table tents. So it folds over, and these are little table tents that you would put on maybe the dresser or the dining chair, or rather dining table in the room, so that they're also aware of it while they're sitting at their room. And here's an example of what we've done for some properties where we actually print out on the electronic key that they get given from the staff the information about the guest service, but also what's called a QR code, so that if they want to just scan from their mobile phone, they can get taken right away to your concierge site. So the guests would learn about your concierge through the confirmation process, through your Wi-Fi network, through any of these marketing collateral pieces that we would deliver. That's how they would, sort of learn about it. Now, how does this tie in with operations? Because that's a key aspect. If someone were to say, go back to an example right here, if they were going to request an item, right? Let's just go with John Doe here as an example, and we'll just say, John at Doe.com, and let's just say John is in room 123. Well, what does the guest need? There's a range of items on this quote unquote menu. Maybe they need an extra feather pillow, or maybe they need an extra toothbrush, or maybe, some toothpaste, whatever it might be, and we could say like, knock 3 times and enter, whatever the instructions would be. And of course, this is all built to be used on a mobile device as well as obviously a desktop computer. And when that request goes into the system, now your front desk, it gets notified, whoever is managing the system. So we've described a little bit about the concierge aspect, which is the guest facing. Now I want to show you what we get on what we call the manager side. So this is a separate website called manage.bookingcenter.com. And we just put in a request just a moment ago here, this one right here, for John Doe in room 123. If I click this, you'll see that we asked for a toothpaste, a toothbrush, and an extra pillow. And my notes were the knock 3 times and enter. Now, normal process, this is now what we call in our system a new request. It's in cool blue right here. It's not yet gone into it's not yet delayed in its fulfillment. Now you can see that some of these things, for example, this request right here is being processed and it's been assigned to somebody. But this new request hasn't been assigned to anybody. But let's assume that, that we have now loaded up somebody's arms with toothpaste, toothbrush, and an extra pillow, and we've brought it to their room. We would then say that this one was completed, and who did that? Let's just say that was Mary Walsh. Mary Walsh was the lady who completed this pickup. So now the system has now removed that item from the open status, and if we go to the completed status, there is that Mary Walsh completed task. So when the guest communicates with the staff gets all that information in real time, and I'll even show you how they get notified about these types of things on their mobile phone, etc. But then they can fulfill it. And what you get to do as a property owner is that you get to track exactly which one of your staff is fulfilling tasks and how quickly they're fulfilling tasks, because we're tracking when the task goes in and when the task is completed. And the job of every property is obviously to have really good trained staff to fulfill guest needs as quickly as possible, because that's what builds the strong relationship between your property and that guest. Now, some of these tasks aren't so easy to fulfill, right? Some of them are a little bit more complex. You might not have them all fulfilled within 15 minutes, for example, of them being entered. Like that spa service might not be fulfilled for weeks until the guest checks in. So that's why I want to go back to the PMS to see, well, how does this actually interface with our fulfillment system? Anybody who is a current customer of the MyGuest will notice that there's a little widget that we put on the front desk of your property. We call it the guest request widget. And what it does is it looks for anybody who's in your arrivals, your in-house, and obviously departures because they're still in-house, but they're still departure, who has any of these tickets open. If there's any of these requests open, then we just go right to that request, allowing your staff to sort of become, savvy about what is it about an arriving or in-house guest that we haven't yet fulfilled. Now, in this one right here, it was in status new. It hasn't been assigned to anybody. So let's assign that, it's a booking center. We can at least know that someone's now responsible for it, okay? But maybe this other one right here for, Melissa Towski, open that one up. We can see that it hasn't been assigned either. So what we're doing here is we're making sure that any request for a guest who's arriving or is in-house is giving a certain, preeminent. Of course, you can cancel these requests too. And of course, they go now to what we call the canceled section, right? Actually, I switched to our demo property. I should go into our demo property now. So there's the one that we just canceled right here. So this system is completely, fully multi-property. So we built it so that if you own and operate multiple hotels, you can jump in and out of your different hotels. And so I'm at the MyPMS demo hotel, which is what is accessible to all of you folks for your own demo purposing as well. And now who gets access? Obviously, anybody who's seeing at your front desk here, they're going to be able to see that these are the requests that are not completed yet, that you want to see, get closed at some point during the stay. But in Booking Center, as you know, if you're a PMS customer of ours right here, your users are going to be able to have MyGuest access or not. So you will control which one of your users you want to be able to go in and view and manage the requests right here. So their same ID and a password that they use to log in their PMS will also be used for logging into the guest request system. And so you can determine which of your guests, you want to have access to this stuff or not. Now, I want to go back to, the basic concepts here and let you know that not every customer of ours really wanted to have this whole guest-facing request system. The concierge aspect is appropriate to some properties, especially those who have, like 3-star, 4-star, 5-star hotels, a lot of services they provide to guests. But it's not appropriate to all customers. What we have found with a lot of our customers is that they like this guest request system as just a request and incident tracking. So we built it for two purposes. One, you can open up to guests, but the other one, you can use it for just your staff. And so in this case, you'll notice that the staff, whether it was a housekeeping issue that needs to be addressed or a maintenance issue or a transportation issue, we're supposed to pick somebody up or drop somebody off, the staff can create the same forms that we saw at the concierge. The guests can create these for their own guests and for their own internal needs. This need not be generated by guests themselves. This is an incident tracking system that works to record what incidences in your hotel need focus, who's responsible for them, how long it takes to fulfill them. So it's really also what is commonly called an incident or a maintenance request system as well. And so, if you put in a request, then those requests just track right here, and you get to know, what's still open, what's not closed, etc. There's no limits to how long something can be open. We just try to show you how long things are open here so that, more immediate ones can get addressed. But what's really nice about it is that we give you a dashboard, so you get to have a pretty good idea about, okay, well, what issues are being requested most often. Therefore, what part of the hotel is maybe not running as smoothly as could be? what are the average times? For example, an average minimum response time. You know, how much, this particular dashboard has how much room service is being ordered, how much spa service, how many requests have been submitted. But you get an idea of also, like, for example, what kind of maintenance issues you're dealing with. And so we track all these things in order to make a dashboard view of what is being asked of your property and how quickly are your staff able to resolve those requests. And there's a really neat, sort of graph down here that you get to see every week. And, we can do these for weeks, months, etc. Well, how often are your staff using the system? So that, what's being entered versus what's being closed. And of course, the game is to try to keep them as in parity as possible. As incidents are being addressed into the system, there's also somebody who's actually dealing with those. Now, for example, if there's a request that in this case not been assigned, right? Sometimes you can't get everything, right away. So, you've got it assigned to yourself. It's still open. Let's just say that Jesse's the guy who gets this. Well, now Jesse has at least been assigned to it. Jesse's now processing it. It's up to Jesse now to resolve this issue. He knows what it relates to. He knows, maybe what reservation it's supposed to link to, etc. And then Jesse's job is to stay on track of this, right? Now, how does he do that? Well, there's some really neat tools that we built in to the system here to help you achieve that. One of the interesting features about the system is that every user of the system gets to set what they wanted to show. For example, here I'm going to take you to an example. Now, this is done on a mobile phone, but when I have a device on my mobile phone and I'm a user, let's just say that I'm that Jesse guy who got that ticket assigned to him, I get to choose which of these issues, for example, spa requests or front desk requests, do I even want to be notified about? Because if I don't want to be notified about it, if they're not part of my department, I turn off those notification requests. But if I do want to be notified about them, I turn them on. But every time a request comes into the system, it looks something like this, right? I get a request that says, who the name is, what category it came from, what room it is about, and then what type. Now, if I click view on my mobile, then I actually go to the actual request. And of course, the request looks something like this. Doesn't matter, if you're on a mobile device or a desktop device, the idea is the same. Your users set what categories they want to be notified about, and then they get notified when those things happen. And then if they're part of what we call the escalation procedure, right? And that escalation was right here on the screenshot. Let's see. Escalation means that if they are also turned on for escalation, then after a few hours, and you can set this for your property, if a task has not been fulfilled, then it needs to be escalated to somebody. And then who is that person going to be? Now, oftentimes that will be somebody, in the house, like the housekeeping manager, or maybe it's the general manager, or maybe it's the front desk supervisor. But if the original request that comes in for something like this is not fulfilled in a prompt manner, then you can be assured that whoever the supervisor is that has escalation turned on for their device, it could be an iPad, it could be, an iPhone, whatever, will then get notified after those hours have occurred and the ticket has not been put into some status, processing, completed, canceled, etc. What this does is it assures you that issues will not get just ignored on the property, that if they're not resolved in some sense of a timely manner, then they'll be escalated and somebody can then, get into it. Now, how would you actually do this? Well, you'd have to download, the app. The app is available today for anybody who wants to download it. You have to be set up to be a MyGuest customer. But if you just went to, for example, the Apple Store right here and just chose the word Booking Center, it's in the productivity area of the App Store, and you could download the Booking Center app. You don't have to pay extra for the app. The app is just another way to do what this dashboard does. The dashboard, as you can tell, oftentimes for customers who are using the system, this dashboard is open at their front desk, just like their PMS is. So there's a property management system. They have the property management system, and they also have the managed system. And just like the property management system, not only do we have a dashboard, but we actually even track, some specifics about, how many requests have happened today, how many new visitors have come to your system, how many requests have opened the last 30 days. So we're doing some pretty good calculation on summarizing all this. Most of our customers use the app for dealing with this system, but some of them use the dashboard, and there's nothing that stops you from doing so. So once again, this aspect of the system is really about tracking the incidences and the requests, and this can be done in isolation. You need not have a concierge front end to do it. The concierge aspect just brings your guests into the process. But the managed system, which is the core of it, the app and the notifications, the escalations, and the tracking of the individual issues, this can be done outside of a concierge system just for doing basic incident tracking. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what the MyGuest system really is all about. It's got two main components: the concierge aspect, the request, and incident tracking. It's ready to launch for any of our customers. We've got this installed at a number of hotels. We've been rolling this thing out now for the last couple of years with a few key properties, both large properties and small properties. And it's really transformed a lot of our customers' operations, frankly. It's brought things much tighter together and made, owners and managers very comfortable that A, the things that are being asked of their staff are not slipping through the cracks, but B, they're also getting a much more empirical overview on what's actually being asked for by their guests, and they're able to fine-tune both services and products to those needs that they had assumed before were not necessarily needs that were actually happening. And because the whole thing is mobile, and it doesn't matter where you are as a customer to interface with it, it's really allowed sort of an anytime, anywhere type of approach to managing your property and making your guests happy. Now, most of the people that are on this call, I can see because our moderator, Erica, has been sharing with me, who's come on, are GMs, they're owners. And I've got a couple questions here that I was going to ask before we disband the call. And this one comes from Jack from the Inn on the First. And he asked, what if we don't need the concierge? We just want to track stuff. And I just want to, I'll reiterate, if you don't have that need for this guest-facing, website, if you don't really need the confirmation letter aspect of it, which kind of shows a subset of this concierge aspect before they get there, a different set of, graphics for once they're on site. You don't need that, don't take it. We have it's less costly, it's a less expensive way. Just the request system is fine. And then if you ever want to lay over your operations, some of these extra services, whether they're activities in your area or actually services that you provide at the hotel, you could of course lay on the guest facing aspect of it later. I got Barbara from the El Pueblo and says, so what if staff members are on vacation and they just don't respond? Well, I'm going to go back to that, to the aspect we've shared with you, that because we built this whole system with the concept of mobile, the mobile device is really the reminder. Yes, you can text message people and all that, but those things disappear. The fact that every time a request comes in or every time an update occurs, they get notified on their device, that kind of keeps them in the muscle memory, you might say, of servicing these requests. But if somebody else needs to sort of, fulfill on their behalf because, that person has disappeared and gone on vacation for a couple of weeks, then what you want to do is just get another one of your users in, and they go to their settings and they turn on the categories that vacationing personnel has turned off. And so now they're sitting in for the spot that the vacationing employee is no longer, no longer handling. In fact, the vacation employee in a perfect world would just turn these things off on their device so that they don't get bothered while they're on vacation. And then of course, when they come back in, they take back their categories, for example, their spas or their transportation requests, and then the person that was covering for them, removes it. So those are 2 questions we have. Are there any other questions right here? Oh, well, here's a general question about pricing. Well, we don't really have really set firm pricing at the moment, because what we have found is that some customers have very elaborate concierge needs. And so what we do is we set this up with them, and then we give them access through it's a simple WordPress system. Once we've built it for them, they can go in there and, for example, if there's the spa menu on here, well, of course, spa menus are going to change. Your 10-minute back massage may not always be $15. Customers can edit this on their own if they wish, or they can have Booking Center make all their edits for them. But it is relatively simple to go in there and edit these things. So generally speaking, the concierge aspect of the system is a little bit more expensive than if you just need the management access. The management access is part of the Booking Center PMS, especially applicable for customers of the PMS, but you don't have to be a property management system customer to enjoy this system. You can run this autonomously from your property management system. And those are the questions that have come in here during this webinar. I want to thank all the participants, and I want to let you know that we will send out a summary of this webinar with some demo links so you can go play around with it. And if you have any questions about the MyGuest, or how to use it for your concierge or your staff tracking, or how we would layer this on to your existing Booking Center operations, we are here at your convenience. So thank you very much for attending, and we will look forward to our next conversation with you. All the best.